Welcome back, everyone, to Cognitive Enhancement, the video series. This is part 2 on learned helplessness. I am your Cogn coach, Drew Morgan, based out of DFW. And if you haven't seen the first video on learned helplessness, I encourage you to go back and watch that one before this. But just as a refresher, what is learned helplessness? Well, it is a belief formed over time from repeated exposure to a negative situation or outcome. Because of that repeated exposure to this negative outcome that keeps happening, you learn that you have no control over a situation, and thus you stop putting forth any effort. However, the question is that really still true? So we talked about the elephant, baby elephant, who tried to break the chain, couldn't do it. Then when he was older, he didn't try either. However, I want you all to think about, where have you struggled in the past? Where have you failed repeatedly? And would that still be true today? So really, learned helplessness is the failure previously was real, and you might not have had much control back then. Just like the baby elephant couldn't break free of that chain. But now that circumstances have changed, you have grown, maybe you've gotten into a new position, maybe you've rose in the ranks as a TSO, is that really still true? So I want you to, again, reflect back on some of the questions that you answered in the first section and identify, were those failures or those struggles I had early on, is that really still true today? So in this video, we're going to talk about how to overcome learned helplessness through increasing our self-efficacy. And so if you have not seen the first video, I'd encourage you to go back and watch it. I think it's only about 5 minutes, and that'll help you give the context for this video. So self-efficacy is a belief formed over time, much like learned helplessness, that you do have the control and the ability to execute a specific task. So similar to confidence, self-efficacy is related to something very specific. So you might have a high degree of confidence overall as a TSA officer, but maybe you have low self-efficacy on the X-ray. When you have a high degree of self-efficacy, you then have a high sense of control over the outcome. So when we compare these two, self-efficacy, you feel like you have a lot of control over the outcome, you have agency, you can affect the situation, whereas learned helplessness, you have learned that you have no control, that there's nothing you can do to change the outcome in a more positive way. So 2 tools we're going to talk about to build self-efficacy and try to overcome this learned helplessness. And the first, you should be familiar from our original trainings, is to practice a growth mindset. So a growth mindset is just simply the belief that you can develop your ability. And whereas a fixed mindset is a belief that your ability is limited. So with having a growth mindset, just as a quick reminder, you're going to look at challenges as a positive. You're going to work through them and persevere. You're going to know that effort is the path towards mastery. That's how you get better at things. You'll seek out feedback because you know, again, that these are just pieces of learning information. And then setbacks and failures, you will take accountability and you will learn from those failures. Opposite is going to be true of a fixed mindset. So if you take on a more fixed mindset, you're going to be combating that learned helplessness because you're going to be on the path towards growth and continuing to evolve any beliefs that you might have created earlier on in your training or in your life. So in a nutshell, fixed mindset, you're going to be seeking to prove to others what you know, whereas a growth mindset, oftentimes you're just seeking improvement. So we want to improve instead of prove our abilities. Second tool to build self-efficacy is execute on what you can control. So one of the things that we know that we can control from the original training is our thoughts. So we can control our ETA altogether, but right now we're just focused on thoughts because that's going to have a big impact on combating this learned helplessness and evolving our self-efficacy. So in any situation, it's good to remember that you can control your energy, your thoughts, and your attention. And that is going to be able to help you perform at a higher level. So in the thoughts, as a reminder, if we go back and look at pre-performance pressure, how are you looking at a situation before you even go into it? If you are looking at a situation like a long passenger queue as a threat, something to get through and something you're dreading, something like, oh, I don't want to do this, passengers are going to be so rude and angry, you're perceiving that as a threat and you're letting that environment dictate the control. Whereas if you view it as a challenge, now you're taking back some of the control over that situation and dictating how you want to view it. So how you think about and the thoughts that you have even before performance is going to be important. This threat equals no control. You're letting the situation dictate how you want to think about it versus thinking about it as a challenge. You're instituting the control. So to sum up, we are looking at building self-efficacy as a way of combating this idea of learned helplessness. So what we're looking to do is kind of rewire the brain from previous failures, previous struggles that we've had, and rewire it so that we are acting more in control and maximizing that potential that we truly have. So the first step that we talked about in the first video is really developing self-awareness and asking yourself, are those failures that I had previously, is that still true today? And then in understanding that, moving forward, you can act on the things that you can control. So knowing exactly what you can control and then acting on that will help you build this idea of self-efficacy so that you're not reliant on those past failures. So a good way of looking at that is asking, what evidence do I have that those failures are still true? Or what evidence do I have that it's different? Now in your situation, you might have rose through the ranks as a TSO, you might have gotten a promotion, maybe you moved, whatever. The situation is likely different. So how can you identify the areas that you can control and really focus on that? And then secondly is seek improvement over proving to others. So by seeking improvement, you are simply seeking growth. And you will not be as concerned with the outcome or trying to prove to others your competency or your abilities. So in doing so, you will help build self-efficacy and kind of defeat this learned helplessness idea. That's it for this video. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I'm Drew Morgan, part of the DFW Coggan team. Here is the Coggan at DFW team's contact information. Please reach out with any questions or anything we can help you with.